I just wanted to acknowledge first how awesome the Supreme Court is. So I just want to give a round of applause. Right? And it just kind of happens to work out that the Supreme Court made this decision, and I'm talking a little bit about gender and sexuality, so that's pretty cool. So this here is Riley Kelo. She was 25 at the time I took her picture. It was a few years ago when the whole Marriage Equality Act passed, and everyone was talking about it. It was like at the forefront of everybody's mind. It was on the radio, it was all over the news. I heard an interview on Fresh Air with Terry Gross was interviewing a dominatrix about her trials and tribulations as a dominatrix in the city. She'd written a novel, a memoir, and at the same time, I also had a conversation with my roommate, whose former roommate had been a dominatrix, and so there was like just all this talk about gender and sexuality and like sort of, you know, what's not like normal, so-called normal, and I felt a little unease about that. I wanted to inquire further, so I got in touch with this roommate's roommate about her situation. I wanted to, curiosity, and she had given up the dominatrix life. She used to work on Wall Street, giving them a well-deserved beating, but now she was getting her PhD in psychology, which I found so interesting, that transition. And she didn't want to talk openly about, she didn't want to have her name out there, and she didn't want to be a subject because she was afraid that in the academic community she'd be stigmatized and ostracized, which is also really interesting. You think that somebody would embrace that, especially in the field of psychology. So she told me about this community website called Fetlife.com, and I figured it was like some sort of like sex dating kinky thing, and it's not. Turns out it's kind of like a Facebook. It's huge. There's thousands and thousands of people around the world, and New York has a really vibrant kink and fetish community, which I knew absolutely nothing about. So naturally, I signed up for this website. I'm a straight male vanilla person, photographer, and why did I do this? It could be anybody. This is all over the news. Why did I personally choose to do this? And it's because I felt a certain unease, and that's where my curiosity started. I felt like basically ignorant about gender and sexuality. I grew up in a pretty isolated South Florida, suburban, upper middle class, Jewish, white, kind of. Hi, Mom, she's here. I was isolated. I didn't have gay friends, and I wasn't really exposed. It was just very traditional. In college, obviously, I learned some, and then coming to New York and being a photographer, I was exposed to all sorts of ways of life. But still, I just, I didn't really connect, and I wanted to learn more. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to put myself out there and go to, the fringes of society and see what's going on. So I signed up for this website, and I explained, okay, I'm a photographer. I want to go to your house and photograph you in your fetish situations. No big deal, right? Yeah. Of course, everybody was going to jump on board with that, right? Not the case. I felt, I got a lot of resistance. It took a long time before I was able to gain people's trust and to have people let me into their homes. And it turns out that Riley here was the first person who let me in. So I went up to the Bronx where she lives, and I went to her house, and I'm, obviously a little nervous, a little like, I know that she's an adult baby diaper lover is what her thing is. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? But it turns out Riley was incredibly articulate and patient, and she explained and she went through all the questions. I interviewed her, and I had like my journalist hat on, so I was like, I'm serious about this, and I can, I'm not nervous at all. Everything's fine. But she explained, about the thing that I was most sort of concerned with was there was this like fine line that I felt between what she's doing and pedophilia, and I felt like, I didn't understand. So she explained it to me. She is transgender. She grew up as a boy, and she didn't have the experience of growing up as a little girl. So for her, regressing to childhood as a girl was an experience she never got to have, and she takes comfort in like wearing a diaper and having a pacifier, and the onesies and the whole, just like a comfort zone, And then being an adult, she has this erotic aspect to it, and that's how she explained it. And then of course there's the dildo in the corner, which I couldn't really quite fit into the whole equation. Yeah, it's just just a dildo in the corner by the diapers, no big deal. It was kind of a hard concept to swallow, and and I took a picture, and she was great and everything. So, and I remember going home and talking to my roommates and going, I just had this experience. It was so interesting, and there was this whole debate that happened with my roommates. And what I realized is this is a great opportunity for me to learn. So I went on and I did a whole project about fetish. I did portraits of fetishes in New York at home, in this kind of straightforward way, and not trying to make them into these exotic, wild things that you never see, but the people that could be your neighbor, or it could be your, your doctor, or your photo editor, or creative director. It could be anybody. And it's actually a lot more normal. Society has really stigmatized this kind of behavior or anything. So I mean, I met the Baroness, who is a latex fashion icon in New York since the 70s. I met a guy named Direwolf, who's this big dude who's the alpha male of a werewolf pack. I met the Alien Master, who with him and his friends have these alien abduction BDSM scenes that they do. And that guy happens to work for the MTA, so I'm not going to say. But actually all really nice people, and the community is really supportive. And I've just basically learned that human sexuality is incredibly nuanced, and the way that we see it tends to be black and white. So hopefully, with this project, people, through this kind of project and a lot of others that are going on, people have the experience that I did in opening their minds and seeing that this stuff is a lot more complex and involves a lot more people than you think, and that we won't continue seeing people as others. Thanks.